Hi there, this is just a quick review of the post-secondary enrollment option for students who are considering accessing that option in the 25-26 school year. So quickly here, what is PSEO? It's a program that allows students to earn college credit and attend local colleges and universities at no cost to them through a state statute that allows students to access both high school and college credit at the same time. It's often known as dual enrollment. There is no tuition or fees or any textbook costs for students. There may be lab fees that students might need to check on, but they should work with that college on that piece. Students can take PSEO classes in a full-time or part-time format, and it is meant to work with your current high school schedule in any way you can kind of fit it in. Like I said, it's a dual enrollment option, so students will earn both high school and college credits at the same time. For example, a student who takes a college writing course through PSEO would then earn a year of English here at the high school if they're taking it in 11th or 12th grade. And then it offers traditional on-campus PSEO classes and online PSEO classes as well. So just quickly, we want to just talk a little bit about what does a PSEO college, successful PSEO college student look like. Essentially, it's what does a college student look like? Because you are, while you're in high school, you are just acting as a college student. So you must have a good academic foundation. Your grades in high school should be solid in order to really be successful in these college classes. You have to be able to manage the different moving parts of a college campus and possibly a high school campus at the same time, so strong time management skills. One important thing to remember is that college courses move at twice the pace because they finish an entire course in one semester. You got to be able to talk to your professors and reach out to them, ask them questions, as well as your PSEO advisor, as those are the people who are going to help you be successful in those classes. You got to be able to think critically because you are in college courses. You need to be independent and be an independent learner. A lot of the college courses that our students are taking for PSEO require a lot of independent study and then a lot of follow-up via papers and chats and things like that. And so it requires a lot of just kind of working independently. Obviously, you need to be disciplined in order to be successful as a high school student in a college course. And then just adaptable because things are constantly changing and moving pretty quickly. So some other things to consider is that, what your child is looking for or what you're looking for, a high school experience versus a college experience. They're very different. Some students really are excited to leave campus and go off and be with some other students on a college campus. Other students find that they really enjoy being here on campus for their entire high school career. Again, everyone's going to be different, but those thoughts should be made. I just had a student who's doing full-time PSEO indicate to me that she was very lonely because she just felt like she wasn't seeing her friends at lunch and things like that. So those are good things to just consider and think about. Our schedule here at Mount Westonka varies from the schedule of students who are taking PSEO courses. Obviously, local community colleges start a bit earlier than us and they end much earlier than us. So just keeping in mind the difference in breaks and knowing that even though you're a high school student, you may need to adjust to that college schedule in order to kind of make things work. We do not provide transportation as part of PSEO. And then just making sure that students are in communication with us as counselors with any changes that might occur to their PSEO schedule that would impact graduation and vice versa. Need to be in contact with their college advisor in order to make sure that they're meeting all the requirements for the courses they want to take there. If a student is going to do part-time PSEO, we just need to be in communication with them about what classes they might take here versus what classes they might take through PSEO and how that might work for their schedule and how that connects to sports and things like that or morning meetings, and just really making sure that we try to make it as barrier-free as possible, but you are trying to work in your college courses into the master schedule that is available here. Some families have questions about whether or not AP is the way to go or PSEO is the way to go, and we'll kind of just leave you with a couple little bullets here that maybe to think about. As long as a student passes a PSEO course, they earn that credit, right? So students are often not putting at risk a final test like an AP exam to earn that credit. However, sometimes the AP credit can be recognized a little bit better at some of our more selective colleges and universities across the country. So it's something to think about. Also, AP is often known as kind of the gold standard as far as curriculum goes because it's the same curriculum across the country, where there is no way to monitor the different colleges kids might attend. So that's one thing to think about if you are thinking about going to a college that might not be recognized or that might not recognize a school like Normandale outside of the region. However, if you are thinking of going regionally, the credits do transfer quite easily, and it could be a good idea. AP courses, on the other hand, are, like I said, a good option because the curriculum is standardized across the country. But the options are limited, so you can't always take all the classes you hope to take by taking them through AP. And there's just more choices through PSEO. One thing to keep in mind about grading is that the PSEO grades a student earns will be posted on the high school transcript and on the college transcript. So just because you take it somewhere else doesn't mean you can avoid putting it here. Because of the PSEO program and the funding that's attached to it, all grades are transferable back to the high school no matter what you earn. So something to keep in mind is that a B for a semester course at PSEO is equivalent to a full year of a B here. So it does impact your GPA a little bit more heavily. So it's just something to keep in mind as students kind of learn how grading works in college. Another thing to keep in mind is that any class that is 3 credits or more is equal to 1 year here. Any class that's 1 or 2 credits at a college is worth a semester course here. Most students, for most of the time, are taking classes that are 3 or more credits. Therefore, they are just taking basically a year's worth of a course at the at the college that would be applied at the high school. Another thing to really keep in mind, this can be a hard lesson for some students, is that the PSEO grades are the beginning of your official college transcript. So if you were to get C's in PSEO courses, those C's are transferring and following you for the rest of your college career. And sometimes it's a hard thing to watch a student who has aspirations to go to graduate school or medical school and often, or not often, and sometimes not do as well as they wanted to, and that can impact their GPA for future plans, 4-6 years out. And then transferability of those PSEO credits is always based on the college that you are landing at. And so you should just be asking those colleges whether or not they will take some of those credits that you're hoping to get through PSEO. You can also use this website posted to your Transferology. But as you're doing your college tours in the next year or so here, it's a really good question to ask them is will you take these classes from my college that I'm hoping to attend? So general timeline for PSEO the process itself is very much like applying to college. So right now is the research stage and starting the application stage. So a lot of colleges open up their applications here in February. And so students should really be looking at those PSEO websites and looking at what is required, looking at the steps to apply. And then we'll recap some of those things during the information session here on February 13th and February 20th. Again, the applications, the deadlines vary by school, and the application process itself varies by school. So again, it's a good reminder to know that you need to be like a college student and apply to a college like a college student in order to be considered for PSEO. And that is a process that is driven by the student and their family. So often admission decisions come anywhere between, say, late March and late May, depending on the school. And so then you're starting to have your conversations with those PSEO providers about how you complete your orientation and how you register for courses. And again, that will vary by institution. We should also have some time in late spring to then advise you on how to build your schedule to make your PSEO courses work, but we won't have that availability till probably mid to late May. During that summertime, you'll attend that orientation and you'll register for your courses. Sometimes that happens in spring. I guess, again, it depends on the school that you're attending. And then once you have your courses registered for, you do need to submit a copy of your schedule so that we can submit it for tuition coverage and verify that it will cover your graduation requirements. That's something that we as counselors remind you of, but that's kind of a big piece that is required to kind of move forward with things. Another common question is that where students can take PSEO classes, and there's a wide variety of schools that are enrolled in the PSEO program through the state. The most common ones are Normandale, the U of M, Minneapolis College, formerly known as MCTC, and then Hennepin Technical College. And each college, just like everything else, will have its own criteria and its own process for accepting students. There is a complete list of MDE-approved PSEO institutions in the state of Minnesota attached to this presentation on our website. You can go ahead and click on that, and you can see a variety of other schools that also will accept PSEO credits or PSEO students. So there are a variety of other other colleges that will also offer PSEO. The ones we listed here are just the most popular for our Mount Wasanaga students. So just to get into those specifics on that school, Normandale has opened up their application, and their deadline is June 1st. They obviously recommend earlier. You can see the eligibility criteria listed there. And then the online application is the first step. And then they have you upload your supplemental documents through their document uploader. So those are all things that you're going to do as a student and do on your own. So you're going to go to the online application, create your ID, complete the application, submit it. And then you're going to have to follow up with some document uploads. So one of the document uploads is your transcript, which can be downloaded from your Skyward account, and your test scores if you have those, and those can be downloaded from your ACT account. The last thing is this the MDE PSEO Notice of Student Registration form. We'll kind of go into that in more details in just a second, but that is something else you'll need to upload to your PSEO account through Normandale. If you're going to apply to MCTC or Minneapolis College, it's a very similar situation. You're going to do a similar online application, and then you're going to go ahead and submit your information via email. It's listed right here. It's on their website. Again, all of these steps are listed on the school's websites. And then you're going to go ahead and submit your NOSR. I will go into that in just a second. Submit that by email, and of course they have a mandatory orientation you need to complete. And just as a reminder, all of these steps are listed on their PSEO website. Then lastly, the University of Minnesota, sorry, not lastly, we have one more after this. The application opens up on February 17th. It's due on April 15th, and you'll need to do an application, submit your transcript, and then submit your NOSR in the link that they provide once you submit your application. Just as a reminder for the University of Minnesota, it's a very competitive program, so you can kind of see the applicants. They have 1,600 applicants every year, and they require close to a 4.0 on most scenarios in order to be accepted to the University of Minnesota. Then lastly, Hennepin Technical College has become more popular recently. They have a video that they can show you how to apply, and then here are the steps listed right here. So again, you're going to create an ID, complete the application, submit a transcript. If they need you to take placement tests, they'll let you know. And then you're going to submit that NOSR, which we'll just talk about right here in a second here. Okay, so the NOSR is the agreement form that is signed between the student's high school and the college to indicate that we agree that student is going to earn credit through PSEO. So you do need a signature from your counselor in order to move forward with that and submit it. But you wouldn't do that step until you've completed your application. So you once you've completed your application, they're going to give you a list of forms that you need to submit. You're going to go ahead and complete the top part. It's just your general information, but it is required to be completed prior to sending off to your counselor, and you can do this digitally. But you want to make sure that, number one, it has the right date on it, because there are some old ones out there and they won't take old ones. And then you need to make sure that signatures and dates are on it from you. So once you've completed this top part, you can go ahead and forward it digitally, or set up a time to meet with your counselor to go over it. And we will then do the bottom part here. So you can see the part where we're agreeing to saying that you are indeed eligible for PSEO. Then you'll take that back from us and you will submit it via those submission processes listed by the college, and that would be the end of the process as far as applying if you've done all the other steps. They will then, you'll leave this blank, and they will then send that back to us with the courses that you are taking. So then we use this as verification with the schedule that you've provided us. So a couple other things to consider when you're thinking about PSEO. You need to make sure that you are communicating with your teacher any changes to your schedule at PSEO, or any additional classes that you are taking at every term. That always needs to be communicated by you to us. That's not something we're going to be aware of. Again, you are a student of the college during that time, so we don't have access to your information while you are a student there. You also need to submit your final grades to us at the end of every term so they can be transferred on. And then we would just ask that students check in with us to make sure that they are meeting their requirements. We do hold any diplomas for seniors until we have received official word from PSEO that they've passed and that they've met their graduation requirements. So typically PSEO students get done in early to mid-May, and that gives us plenty of times to make sure that they have met their graduation requirements. But it is something we do if we don't have the information we need. And then just one thing to think back is if you're a part-time student at Mount Westonka, you are still in charge of staying on top of information that is being shared out here. So we always encourage students to still check their Schoology page, to watch announcements that get published on YouTube every day. Do those things to make sure, check their school email. Do those things to make sure that they are staying on top of any details that they would want to know about, things like ordering senior sweatshirts or dance tickets, and doing all those things via email and the sites that are out there, because no one will be providing that for them. Another thing to remember is that the post-secondary institution determines admission standards, the courses that you can take, and whether or not you can continue. So sometimes students don't do as well as they hope, and then they are told that they cannot continue, so they need to return to the high school and finish their graduation requirements here at the high school. There is not a scenario in which we as counselors know what classes you can take. That really is something that you need to work with your PSEO advisor on, learning what classes that you can take. So they are always your first stop for answering those questions. If there are any concerns regarding grades or eligibility or how things are going in a class, PSEO students and families must work directly with that college on that. We don't have the ability to access your private information and find out how you're doing or speak with those professors. So that's just something to keep in mind, is that you have to kind of flex that muscle and make sure that you're ready to talk to people who might have hundreds of students and might not be as quick to answer questions as they might here at the high school. Students must attend their PSEO courses according to the schedule that's provided by that PSEO institution, so that even if we're on spring break as Mount Westonka students, PSEO students will need to still attend their classes if their college is not on spring break during that time. And then once you're admitted, you don't and you continue to meet the academic requirements, you don't need to reapply each year. Once you are admitted, you get to just ride out the rest of your high school as an admitted student to that institution. Another thing to keep in mind for each semester is that NOSR is really your ticket to getting registration done, really your ticket to making sure your tuition's covered. And so that NOSR is the form that needs to be completed before each term. So typically by even the end of September of next fall, PSEO institutions will be contacting students by email and saying, hey, you need this form completed by your counselor, and you need to submit it to us in order to register for the following term. Something to keep in mind. Again, we need submission of final grades to their counselor, and any changes need to be submitted to us. So quick little recap of kind of our PSEO stats for the 24-25 school year. We currently have 94 students taking PSEO courses in part and full time. So the breakdown is about 50-50 between 11th and 12th grade. And then part-time is definitely the dominant party here. Most students are taking part-time, and then some students are taking full-time. We had 170 students or 170 PSEO classes taken this fall school year, and here's the grade distribution there. So anything down from quite a strong showing of A. We have strong students, that doesn't surprise me one bit. But we did have a couple students who did not pass their classes, and some students who withdrew from their classes. So it's important to keep that in mind, that those Fs those students earned follow them into college, and that can be a hard thing to bounce back from a little bit. Here's some information that we've collected from our PSEO students about why they do PSEO and what is their experience. So the largest group rated it 8 out of 10, but if you add up all those 8, 9s, and 10s, most students are pretty satisfied with their PSEO experience. About 44 of them give it an 8 or better. We asked them why they choose PSEO. The number one choice is to get those free college credits. So if you're in that population, just make sure that those credits actually transfer the colleges that you're considering. And then the second biggest choice was to provide more flexibility in my schedule, and that is something we can do. Students do not need to take their PSEO classes here at school if they're taking online. They can do that from home. We asked the students kind of how easy it is to reteach and learn your information from your PSEO courses. So the vast majority said it's more difficult to receive additional instruction from my PSEO instructors than my Mount Wisconka instructors. 50% of them said that. It's just something to keep in mind if your student relies heavily on the relationships they've built with their teachers here. This could be a difficult piece for them, so something to just be aware of as students move forward at PSEO. And then we just wanted to ask students how quickly they get a response time. Most students would say that they get a response within 24 hours. So students need to kind of start working on, if they have a question for their professor, they must know that they might not get an answer right away or be able to find that person right away. And so developing some different work habits around how professors respond to them and how they get help is going to be an important skill for them to gain. And then we lastly asked students, how do you feel like you're learning for your PSEO? Majority says I'm about equal of the school, and then the second place is that they learned way more in their Mount Wisconka classes. So it's an important thing to mention. We just want to make sure that our students are really keeping up with their academic skills and challenging themselves, and so this is an important thing to kind of keep in mind. Lastly, we just want to make sure that you kind of know the process for moving forward. The first step for every single PSEO student would be to go to that website of the PSEO institution, fill out that application, follow the steps they've provided, and then you're going to go ahead and get that NOSR once you've completed your application, and we'll go ahead and help you with that step. If you have any questions about PSEO, you can always go to that PSEO advisor, that PSEO website. You can always go to the Minnesota Department of Ed website where they have a bunch of different resources. And then lastly, we're also available for help with how your stuff might impact your time here at the high school. Feel free to contact Ms. Campo or myself if you have questions, but thanks for listening.